You have the power inside of you to use anytime you desire.
5 reasons why you should start your own ministry. Why would you want to start your own ministry? Well, quite obviously, because where you are right now, or the ministry that you are currently involved in, is not meeting your needs or requirements, and you're unhappy there. In other words, you are discontented. So point number 1 is you are discontented with the situation you're in right now. Now, if you are unhappy in a church because of the way they run it, or for various other reasons, you may be tempted to think, well, perhaps I should move to a different church or a different ministry. Perhaps I should come under a different leader. I'm afraid you're going to find out that in the end, moving from one church to another actually doesn't change much, because all of them are based on a similar foundation. All of them are going to be run in a very similar way. It's just different people involved, different ways of doing things. Your being discontented is going to have to go a lot deeper than that. And so I put together a message a while ago as part of a series entitled 7 Steps to the New Church. Because God is building a new church, and there are 7 steps to that church being built. And the first step is discontentment. So if you'd like to know a bit more about discontentment and the kind of discontentment that I personally experienced before I was led into starting my own ministry, I will give you the link below this message to that original message, and you can go and watch or listen to it there and decide for yourself. So, first reason, discontentment. The second reason, you're not being given a chance to give out what you have. You see, if God has called you or put a desire or a passion inside of you for ministry, you need to have an outlet for that ministry. You've got to have some way of letting it out. Now, if you're in a standard, normal, status quo church, the chances are that the only people who ever get a chance to let anything out are either the leader or the elders, or maybe a relative or a favorite of the leader, who they'll allow that person to stand up. But you're never going to get a chance to stand behind the pulpit and share, and very often you're actually not even allowed to do much in the local church at all. You're supposed to come to the meetings and receive and participate, pay your tithes and offerings, keep the ministry going. But if you've got something real to give, you seldom are given an opportunity to use it or to give it out. If that's the position you're in right now, that is a second reason for starting your own ministry. Now, it's possible that you became so discontented with the church, perhaps you even tried several different churches, and nothing worked out, and so in the end, you just stopped going to church. What was the point? You have nothing to contribute. You're not allowed to do anything. You're basically just a pew warmer listening to somebody else expressing their ministry. And so you may have come to the place where you have stopped going to church. If you have stopped going to church, that is not the best solution, because we need fellowship with other believers, and especially if God has given you a ministry, you need to be involved with people that you can minister to. So, third reason for you to start your own ministry, you're not going to church anymore. The fourth reason, your family members are not getting a chance to meet other believers. Your spouse is not getting a chance to meet anybody. Your children are not meeting other Christian young people and kids. And they're lacking in some of the social areas as a result of this. And that's because you're no longer involved in any ministry. You're just at home. And it's great. You can start just having ministry with your family, and you can share the word together, and you can pray together. And that is still church, but it's not going to give you the full release of the ministry that God has given you, is it? Okay. So if your family members are not getting a chance to meet other believers, that's another good reason for you to start your own ministry, because then they will be actively involved and meet some new people. And then the fifth reason is you feel frustrated and you have no way of giving out what you have. Now, if God's especially given you a ministry in the Word, where are you going to share the Word? There's no opportunity because you're not meeting with other believers. You're not in a church situation. Nobody's encouraging you to use your ministry. And so you reach a point of frustration where sometimes you even get to the point where you say, is there any point in me serving the Lord anymore? What's the point in me having the call of God, having great abilities that God has placed in me, gifts of the Spirit that are functioning in me? What is the point if I cannot use those? I just feel so frustrated. Lord, what do I do? Now, inevitably, you'll probably go and visit churches again to see if you can find a place somewhere that does things the right way. Well, what is the right way? God does have a pattern, and God does have a better way of running the church than what you currently see in the current status quo church system. God is about to build a new church, and this is the particular mandate that God has given to us, is to establish and to build the new church. And the only way that that can be done is for us to find people out there that are discontented. And you'll be amazed how many people out there are in this position where they've been hurt by the church system, they've been rejected, they've not been given an opportunity, and so they just pulled out completely. There's a lot of people like that, and if we could bring those all in and inspire them and put some fresh fire in them, they will rise up and build the kind of church that God likes. A church in which every single person gets an opportunity to do something. That's what the new church will look like. And that's the new church that you will be able to build if you'll just take the steps forward to start your own ministry. Well, how do you go about it? It's not that easy. Most people are in ministry because they're with an organization, they studied, and they were given a church or an established situation to go and get involved in. How do you start from scratch, especially if you don't have the kind of personality to just connect with people and do things? Well, there are ways and means, and we're going to cover some of those ways and means. I'm going to show you how I personally moved from such a situation to building a ministry that is now international and reaches across the globe, where we are training people in the ministry, even ministering to believers at all levels and accomplishing the call that God has placed in our lives. Now, you can be in that exact same position, and we'd like to show you how. And so in my next series, we're going to look a bit further at this subject of starting your own ministry, and I'm going to look then at your reasons and excuses that you might use for not starting your own ministry. For now, why are you not starting your own ministry? Why should you? You should because you're discontented, because you haven't been given a chance to give out what you have, because you stopped going to church and your family are suffering as a result. And now you're in a point of frustration and you're accomplishing nothing for the kingdom of God. Well, if that all applies to you, you are ready to seriously consider starting your own ministry.
You have the power inside of you to use anytime you desire. You don't need to do anything to set your spirit on fire. Just connect to the heavenly realm. Throw the switch anytime.